Hey everybody, it's Dr. Eric Balkowitz. We're back for another edition of Thyroid Thursday, and today we're talking about calories, macros, and hypothyroidism. So, somebody asked the question, what should their calories, how many calories should they be eating? Can they be in a calorie deficit if they have hypothyroidism? Should they not be in a calorie deficit if they have hypothyroidism? So we're going to do this Thyroid Thursday and try and give you some general idea. How does metabolism work? That's a place to start. Typically, the way your physiology should work, and you have healthy metabolism, good thyroid physiology, not just by the gland, but you have enough thyroid hormone in the bloodstream, and you have good conversion at the cell level. When you eat excess calories, what should happen is that excess calories, as they're being stored in your fat cells, they should send signals to your brain. One of those hormones is called leptin that should tell your brain you're good, you're satisfied, you don't need to eat anymore. And that leptin should increase the conversion of T4 to T3 to hypothalamus to drive the sympathetic nervous system to help burn off some of those excess calories. That's how it should work. If you're in a calorie deficit short term, then what the body will do is it might slow down the metabolism a little bit. But more than likely what it's going to do is it's going to just pull stored fat out of reserve and burn that as fuel. If you're in a chronic caloric deficit, then I think you're going to have more significant impact on your thyroid physiology. And that could be a cell stressor. I mean, we see that in areas of famine where thyroid physiology is downregulated pretty significantly. But I think for the average person, if it's a day, 2 days, 3 days of a caloric deficit, as long as it's not too severe, it's not going to have a significant impact on your thyroid physiology. Now, there is a discussion that you shouldn't fast, and intermittent fasting is bad because when you do time-restricted eating or intermittent fasting, it can lower your T3 levels. And it can lower your T3 levels, but part of the reason of that is that when you are intermittent fasting, time-restricted eating, you are liberating more stored calories from fat. And when you have burning fat, 1 gram of fat generates 9 calories. So I don't need as much thyroid hormone to essentially drive energy production when I'm burning fat as a primary fuel. So if you're more ketogenic, if you're more of a low carb, ketogenic, intermittent fasting type person, your T3 levels might tend to be a little bit lower than the person who is more carb driven type consumer and somebody who burns more or uses more carbohydrates as their primary fuel source. Okay, so how do you figure out what your calories should be? There are plenty of online calculators that you can use. I think your functional medicine practitioner can work with you to try and figure out where you should be, and where you should be today may not where you need to be 2 months from now or 6 months from now. The calories that you consume is really based on height, weight, activity level, age, sex, number of factors go into it. But I want to give you a simple calculation to kind of use to figure out what your total calories should be and then what your macros might be, should be close to looking like. So I'm going to kind of use your height and your weight to figure out your protein levels, and then from protein levels, then we can start to work towards what maybe our caloric needs should be. So 2 ways to that people talk about how to figure out how much protein you should take on a daily basis. And I typically use 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. So I generally weigh anywhere between 175 and 180 pounds. So my protein intake is somewhere between 175 and 180 grams of protein per day as an average. The other way you can kind of figure this out, this has been shown in the scientific literature, that if you take your height in centimeters, that really does a really good job of corresponding to the amount of grams of protein you need on a daily basis. So I'm 5'9.5", let's say 5'9" for simple terms. That works out to 175 centimeters. And if it's 175 centimeters, based on this calculation, that's how many grams of protein I need. So 175 centimeters would correspond to 175 grams of protein per day. And I think that comes out pretty close to what I would say based on my body weight, 175 to 180 grams of protein based on my body weight. And it also looks like about 175 grams of protein based on my height. So if we have that 175 grams, then we can use that as one of our calculations to get to our caloric load. I typically like to see somebody eat their protein percentage be about 40% of their total calories, okay? So if I got 175 grams of protein times 4 calories, for every gram of protein I get 4 calories of energy, that puts me at 700 calories are gonna come from protein. Now, as I said, 40% of my caloric intake should be from protein. So 700 divided by 0.4, 40%, equals about 1,750 calories per day. That's my caloric number. Now, somebody might argue it should be higher, should be lower. It really based on what my demands are. But that's a good kind of baseline number. Now, I want to figure out the rest of my macros. Well, I like carbs to be about 30% of caloric intake. And on average, I like protein to be about 30%. So that gets me to 100% of my calories. So I'll do the calculations there. For carbs, if I take 1,750 calories times 0.3, 30%, that equals 525 calories. So I'm going to get 525 calories from carbohydrates. I divide that number by 4 because I get 4 calories per gram of carbohydrate. That means I need somewhere around 131 grams of carbohydrate per day. And for fats, I take that 525 divided by 9 because I get 9 calories per gram of fat, and that gets me to 58 grams of fats per day. So what should I be consuming? About 175 grams of protein, 131 grams of carbs, and about 58 grams of healthy fats per day. There's a good number to be in. Now, if you're a person who's got tissue hypothyroidism going on, despite taking thyroid medications, your T4 to T3 conversion is low, then I think it's okay to be in about a 10 to 20% calorie deficit if you have extra body weight that you want to reduce. If it's more than that, I don't recommend that unless you're morbidly obese. But if you just have an extra 15, 20, 30 pounds of body weight that you want to lose, I think that 10 to 20% calorie deficit is probably a good place to be, okay? Now, I don't think it should be more than that. So is this perfect for you? I don't know, but this is going to give you a good calculation of where to be. Remember, if you have low T4 to T3 conversion, you probably don't need as many calories as you think you do because you're already storing those calories because your mitochondria aren't making energy efficiently because of inflammation, infections, disrupted sleep patterns, emotional stress. Some excessive cell stress is down-regulating the metabolism to begin with. So giving you sufficient calories to support optimal metabolism when you're not in optimal metabolism is probably going to slow the metabolism, is probably going to result in weight storage, okay? So if you want to burn excess calories, don't need long periods of time of huge calorie deficits, 50% or more of calorie deficit. I think what you do is keep it simple, keep it low, 10 to 20% calorie deficit, and then get to work on what's causing the reduced T4 to T3 conversion. So if you have any questions, any comments, you want to correct me, put them below wherever you watch the video, and I'll try and get back to you as quickly as possible. All right, take care.